We're about to start the show. Yeah, let's go. Welcome back to the Willis Podcast. Let me get my graphics up real quick. Hold on. Just a second. You know, I like my themes to be right. For sure. It's the call of arms, the coat of arms, coat of arms. That's what it is. All right. Check it out. Yes, the Willis Podcast. Welcome back. Welcome to the Willis Podcast. I just want to let y'all know something. Tonight's show is going to be hey man, you're gonna have to be ready for this one. Because being uninformed is not an excuse. I could have named this show a lot of things. I could have. I could. Yeah. Ignorance doesn't give you the right to attack people. Your limited view isn't a whole truth. It really isn't. It's just not. Small minds equals loud opinions. Think about what I'm saying. You know, real life situations happen because people, they have things that they interpret the way they want to interpret them, and that's fine. That's you. But I'm allowed to do the same. Is that a harm? Is that a problem? It shouldn't be. None of that. It shouldn't. None of those things should even. It shouldn't be about nobody else but you. To be quite honest with you. So, small mind has loud opinions. You know, loud opinions. They want everybody to hear their small-minded ass thoughts and perspectives. But guess what? Uninformed and dangerous when people speak without understanding. That's what I'm really trying to convey. Think about a world that's ran on manipulation, deception, in a particular order that doesn't have anything to do with you. Because if you judge us by the same type of perspectives that you can judge the other person, those numbers would be the same. Unfortunately for us, they're not. They're completely lopsided as far as how people, even with how we treat each other. You know, people want to talk about talking down about each other. No. I have no. See, I'm not about the whole color equation anyway. I'm about right and wrong. See, the problem with people uphold and defend a lot of damn wrong, and they know damn well upholding wrong. Wait till it faces you. You understand? But check this out. Perspective is bigger than just your experience. Way bigger than just your experience. That's why people have conflicts with why other people may have a different perspective or understanding. It's not to outsuit or harm or get in the way, but to exchange just to enhance. Your experiences may be different from mine, but does it make it? No, it makes my experience suitable for me and your experience suitable for you. That's all I can make out of that person. But attacking what you don't understand is even more detrimental and foolish. You want to attack something from a small-minded perspective that's way bigger than what you would ever draw. Ignorance creates conflict. That's the real origin of this whole discussion of why I'm explaining these things, because ignorance creates conflict. That's just what the hell it does. So check this out, right? Too many people speak from a tiny window of experiences and act like they understand the whole world. Being uninformed is not an excuse to disrespect and attack to destroy others. Your lack of knowledge can become somebody else's pain. How about that? Because you refuse to understand something, or because you refuse to understand something, You refuse to listen. You refuse to adhere or even try to understand. You refuse those things because they're right there in front of your face, as if you cannot reach out and grab it and touch and make it tangible. No, you need an intermediary. That's a whole problem within itself. So the way you perceive things can be painful to others. People mistake. But hold on, let's check this out. Check this out. I'm gonna tell you what. Let's see. Limited perspectives creates false confidence as well. That limited perspective, it creates an extreme false confidence that yields nothing. So people mistake familiarity with truth. Just because you're familiar with something, do you know the origins? Do you know how it functions? Do you know, have you studied it? Have you heard or even had an interview or even an exchange with a person that had those experiences? Or are you one of those persons that actually had the firsthand experience? A person can live in one environment and think everybody else should think the way they think. They think everybody else should think the same way that they think. How? We're far more unique than we give ourselves credit for. Far more. We have far more depth. But it's only what you can attain and understand for you specifically and personally. But that's a choice and you have options. Let's just be clear. For real. Small experience create loud opinions. That's what that sound like to you. Sounds like a cult. Sounds like you want to lure people into something. Sounds it's not empowering. Like if you look at the name of the Will This podcast, you look at the name of the show, what is it gonna tell you? It's gonna tell you one thing. The will is yours. Specifically. That's what the yeah, you get it. Okay. Ignorance can become aggression. That's why you have so many of these disrespectful memes. People got real angry, ignorant, and creative. Because when people don't understand something, they often attack it. Because they don't identify, they often want to throw blows. They want to attack. They want to be on the attack because it does not align with how they think. It doesn't align with their perspective. It doesn't align with their false confidence. But dig this. Fear and insecurity creates hostility. That's a bag of dope. Fear and fear and insecurity creates hostility. Think about it. Person is they already halfway do like that. They're like, oh, and then they insecure about themselves. So that when you jump at them, they're definitely going to be on attack because they're insecure about themselves. Let me get you before you get me. What did you do? You know, all of that shit. That sick mind just is shattered. So it's a little fragile. You know what I'm saying? So people they act like that. They display it. They put it on display, all for you to see, and they act as if they didn't see what they did. So it's a horror story at the end of the day. But check it out. Some people insult others instead of learning. You rather insult, you rather talk down, you rather disrespect, you rather treat as if, and then you want to be apologetic. Like that's a hell of a cocktail of emotions. I stay away from people like that. They're crazy. A little rough too. And at the end of the day, like they don't want to match you for person to person because then it's a shame if they get if something happens to them, you know, when they don't know who you are either. Check this out. Being uninformed is a choice, especially today. It's your choice. You choose. You got it, fam. But you got to understand something. Information is everywhere, and many people refuse to research deeply. You only want to know something because you want to use it as a weapon against somebody else. But then what if that person just they have a little bit more depth, a few more weapons? You understand what I'm saying? They got an arsenal, even in their mind. So how do you deal with that? You don't. You learn from it. You don't deal with me the way you think you want to. You don't deal with a person the way you want to. You deal with them out of respect and how to reciprocate reciprocity. That's what reciprocity is. Reciprocation, exchanging, understanding through being civilized. But that can't happen with some folks because they want to fight. What if that fight don't go your way? You know all that anger, hostility, and bad faith perspective that you have, you'll wind up getting hurt badly simply because you have so much anger and hostility. And what if I can just hold mine in and push it out when I'm ready to? And I can defend your hatred just by seeing everything that you're going to do. Whether you glimmer your eye, wince your face, ball up your fist, know when you're going to strike. And what if I knew how to hit you first every time you did it because you don't like me just that much? Hatred exudes. When you learn, you exchange. You don't want to throw a punch. You want to sit down and listen. Many people refuse to research deeply, as I told you before. They don't want to do that. They want everything quick. But emotional reactions replace critical thinking. You ever think about that? Why do you think people that love Jesus have such an emotional tie to it? Because when you ask them to critically think about anything outside of that, they're going to attack you because they're emotionally tied to it. So that's a natural human reaction. They don't even know how to defend it, especially with logic, because they know they couldn't defend it a long time ago. It's just they say they faith. That's what keeps them. But guess what? Logic, knowledge of self, knowing how many people actually passed, actually died, that actually passed on their gifts to you, and you throw those away to embrace a foreign object that was created for you to do just what you're doing now, wanting to attack me because I'm telling you that was created in 325 AD on the Council of Nicaea. That's when it was created. Constantine. They needed that. They needed a what? A savior. So they use examples. Is this world's 16 crucified savior. They need an example. They needed him now. They didn't want to explain. They taking advantage of the situation. The stories of the old, the stories of Heru, the stories of Asar, Set, and Heru, and the stories of Asar, Aset, Heru, as well as Set. Yeah, yeah, it was a whole situation. We talking stories that are tied into the Anunnaki, the legacy stories. So you got people that have placed themselves and how they view themselves and changed a lot of different narratives about selves. Hmm. And if I tell you, like I have told you a few times before, every single person on the planet before 6,000 years ago was melanated. And they were all different melanated complexions. Mine just so happened to be copper. Get it? We're still here. You just have to know. But check it out. Let's move right along. Ego stops growth. I'm going to tell you that right now. The president of the United States right now exhibits that every single day, how his ego chokes his growth. But anyway, let's go. Some people would rather be right than informed. See, if I was wrong, I would have no problem accepting the fact that it's not going to hurt my feelings. That means I'm corrected about information. I'm not tied to the story. I'm tied to the truth. I'm tied to the idea of truth. I'm tied to what truth actually is. So if I learn something new, I'm going to accept it and keep moving right along and accept it and keep moving just like that, right along. Because that's a pursuit, right? Shouldn't have anything to do with ego. But pride blocks understanding. When you practice so much pride and so much of what your identity is and what you saw in the mirror, that goes to show you just how important a reflection actually is. If it doesn't look like you, you don't want it. Wow. If it looks something other than what you were depicted or what you were told or the lie that you were told, if that person isn't melanated, then I guess you were told a lie, specifically, unadulteratedly, and on purpose. That's why you was told a lie, because you were supposed to associate it, an intermediary or an outside entity with yourself as long as it was coined by your reflection. That's a horrible game to play, but it's also an extremely, extremely vain notion to change, distort, destroy, recreate, and subjugate history as if history is a subject that you render as well. That's a problem. Okay, but check it out. Wisdom starts when admitting what you don't know. See, the more you learn, the more you should understand how much you don't know. It's an easement, a back and forth. Let me show you. It's like this. So there's always an ebb and flow, an ebb and flow, always an ebb and flow. When you get this, you got problems. You want a smooth operation of wisdom, keeping all the gas out. You want it tight and smooth, and you want an ebb and flow of knowledge so that it pairs well with chronology, actual history, stories of origin or oratory stories. Hope you understand. But check, projection and judgment are fallacies. It's what people do when they're in defense of their so-called truth. They project and they judge. So people judge others from their own pain and limitations. Well, I can only judge it from my, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's cognitive dissonance. Just because it began with you, if you don't look like this, something came before you. Don't we have ancestors? Didn't people come before us? Don't we practice civilization because we're supposed to make it better than what was bestowed upon us? That's progression and moving forward. That's not taking backward steps. But some people want to take backward steps because that's what they're comfortable with. They want it remedial and mediocre because we can't move forward when you got to deal with a person that says no. And they think they're the order of the God. You're not the order of nothing. You're just in the way. They assume their reality is everybody else's reality. You understand what I'm talking about? Even the dominant society right now, the whole world wants another world. We're begging for one. But somehow there's the grips on the nuts of reality that says, I want it different. But you don't control that anymore. And you should relinquish a grip that never belonged to you in the first place. See, a lot of people have been, just like the president has got a lot of inheritance, that didn't belong to them. They got a lot of money that wasn't theirs. They got a lot of health, wealth, and all of that shit on the backs of other people. That was a hell of a sacrifice because you couldn't do it yourself. Knowledge requires humility. I hope you understand that for real. Knowledge requires just that much amount of humility. Intelligent people ask questions. They ask questions because they want to know the answers to them. They want to know why things happen the way that they fucking do. They just want to know. And it's okay. It's okay how it comes on the other side because you got to learn from something, right? You have to evolve. You have to be uncomfortable. Just a little bit. Wise people listen before they attack because there's something you need to know before you start your shit. Or you're going to start, but you need to know something before that happens, before you really know who the hell you really exchanging with in the first place. Let's be clear. Learning expands your perspective. It makes you understand it. Just because you thought you knew something doesn't mean there's a wider, better, brighter, and more cohesive picture. Something that people can understand and maybe would have helped you break out of your obstruction if you paid attention. Maybe it was something for you to learn so that you didn't have to what? Participate in, perhaps? Maybe there was some problems that were resolved for you and you didn't even have to raise a finger. You didn't have to start shit. You just have to practice what? Self acknowledgement, self diagnosis, and also self retrieval. You have to know when and what to do for you. Your ignorance is not my burden to carry. Do you understand? Your ignorance is nobody's burden to carry. I promise you that. A closed mind creates open conflicts. You're always trying to fight. You want a war, and then you start things and you start wars that you cannot win. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even the cause for you to win. And why did you start it? Why did you do it in the first place? Seriously, think about your actions. Because some people do the same thing that people that ain't that a damn shame how your leaders can't even be. Your leaders, you look down upon. You look down upon your leaders because they're not leaders. They're corporate execs. Check this out. People attack what exposes their lack of understanding. They get nasty then. They want to blackball you, especially when they got some power. They want to treat you like dog shit. They want to tell you that you ain't nothing simply because you don't subscribe to bull. You know the rest. Bullshit. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it isn't real. Half of you, I mean, seriously, that's why you have to question the mindset of people that doesn't understand spirituality. But they would rather give you an intermediary story that they like, that they think you should be appreciative of them telling you. Another strong fallacy, an extreme fallacy at that. A limited perspective creates unlimited damage. A lot of things that people do, you really can't take back because you have cost people lives. Some people are responsible for unaliving people unintentionally. But it happened that way simply because you didn't understand or even waver how what you did would affect them in the future. Or let's even talk about the present and the lasting of effects, depending on what you say and how they accept it. That's a different type of energy. Wisdom belongs where ego ends. Those that have wisdom, they have set their ego aside a long time ago. You might just not be able to tell. You may not be able to tell because that person that set their ego aside, what you see is confidence, not arrogance. What you see is efficiency. What you see is purpose, truth, knowledge of self. But, you know, people love to confuse things and they love to make things what they want them to be, not what they actually are. I promise you, the nature of humanity hasn't changed because it will be forced to change. Being informed is not an excuse. Being uninformed is not an excuse. It's just not. If you're uninformed, I promise you it's your fault. That's the show tonight. I appreciate you. I love you. I thank you for tuning into the Willis Podcast. But before I leave, let me give you some solutions. Always bet on you. Always reach into your curiosity and resolve the root issues of things, no matter how hard it gets. Understand how far you would like to take the equation, because those are where you find yourself having limitations or not. How far are you willing to go with you? Anyway, that's the show. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I will be hanging on the TikTok for a little bit, and the Willis Podcast on YouTube. Don't forget, you know this is my favorite part of the show. The will is yours. Y'all be cool, my people. I love you. Stay tuned. I might do another show a little later, but I had to give you one for the go tonight. Anyway, stay tuned, YouTube, and my other partners, and Facebook and Instagram. Y'all hold it down. Be easy. Peace.